Grace's Kitchen. Today we're making star. Know what the ingredients are? I'll tell you. We're going to be using some plain flour, some butter, some caster sugar, some ground cinnamon, and some finely grated orange peel from one orange. We also are going to use one egg. And firstly, we need 125 grams of butter. This one's at 250, so I'm just going to cut it in half. Next, I have to dice the butter into little small cubes so it blends well in the blender. Notice I'm not wearing any gloves, but I've washed my hands thoroughly before I begin. So some nice small cubes. Sticking to the knife, it's very soft, the butter, which will be good for blending. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop that butter into my food processor. Next, we need to add the sugar. Now this recipe, it requires 100 grams of caster sugar. So I'm measuring out my sugar slowly so I don't over-pour like I did the flour. Next, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. This will give our biscuits a really nice spicy kick to them. And also, just to make it a little special, I'm going to use the zest of an orange. Just finely grate the zest of an orange. It takes a little while, but it's worth the effort. So we're going to measure 200 grams of plain flour, 52, we're up to 127, 233, so I'm just going to take a little bit out, pop it back in the container, see what that measures at. Take a little bit more out, a little bit more. Perfect. Having a look at the scales, 200 grams. My last ingredients to add is 1 egg, 2 tablespoons of golden syrup, 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and then I just have to beat that together just lightly to blend the two together. See, it's nicely blended. We're pouring the flour into the food processor with our butter, and we're going to pulse this until the flour and the butter turn into a nice smooth dough. Make sure it's nice and locked in. Are you ready to pulse?
Yep.
Dough. It's been resting in the fridge for over 10 minutes. I'll have a little taste to see what it's going to be like. That is going to be delicious. Now here I have a board and I've got some flour which I'm going to spread around. I need to do this and flour my rolling pin because I don't want the dough to stick to the board or to the rolling pin. Okay. So I take my dough for my star cookies. Pop it on there, and I'm going to roll it out nice and flat. There's a lot of dough here. We're going to make quite a few cookies. These cookies are really good to make at Christmas time because you can put a hole in the top of them and tie a bit of string to them, and they can become Christmas decorations on your tree that you can eat. But since it's not Christmas time, we're just going to decorate them and eat them. So rolling out my dough, and as I said, there is a lot of dough here. That noise in the background is just our birds. I think they would like to try some of these lovely star-shaped. Okay, so that is my dough. Rolled out nice and smooth. A little bit over the edge. Just perfect. Here's a bamboo skewer. This is going to be used to put little holes in our cookies so that they cook nicely. Now I've got a star cookie cutter. I'm very carefully going to press out some star-shaped cookies and pop them onto a baking tray lined with baking paper. Now I want to keep them separated because when they cook, they will get a little bit bigger and you don't want them to bump into each other. Now I've done 4 now. Take me a little while to fill the tray. This is a rather small cookie cutter. You can buy star-shaped cookie cutters that are slightly bigger than this, and that will give you a slightly bigger biscuit, but it does mean that you won't make as many from the batter. This dough is working really well. It's not sticking. Been perfectly rested in the fridge, as I mentioned, for over 10 minutes. Now I did need to tell you that for this recipe you need your oven set at a temperature of 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And once I have all of my cookies on the tray, I am going to pop them in the oven for about 10 to 14 minutes until they're just slightly browned. I'm going to give it probably another tray and a half of this dough. Okay, so that might do on that tray. I'm just going to take my bamboo skewer and I'm just going to pop a couple of little holes, like little decorations on them, just so that they can breathe and cook evenly. When we decorate them with the icing and sprinkles, you won't see these holes, they'll be covered. So now they're ready to go in the oven.
Yep.
For 10 to 14 minutes. Beautifully done. Just need to let them cool now on the tray, and once they're cool, we will ice them.